suspect there are plenty of things for us to worry about. They come in different shapes and different extremes. We worry if we got enough gifts for everyone. We count up the amount that we spend. Did we spend the same on everyone? Do we need to get a little bit more? Can we ever get it even entirely? Do we worry if we have enough lights on the tree? Our lights went out and we have to find one more strand and put them on to make sure the lights are complete and everything is full. We worry. Did we turn the coffee maker off when we left this morning? I don't know if that even happens. We have so many automatic turner offers that maybe that doesn't apply. We worry about different things. It's one thing to worry about those things, but then there are other things we worry about. Our children leave and drive on their own for the very first time. You can't help but worry. You balance your checkbook and you realize that there are more bills to pay than there is money coming in. And you worry. You become stressed, discouraged, and depressed by the events of life all around us. You begin to take it out on each other, those you love, and you worry. It's easy to see how our worry quickly becomes anxiety and fear. And it eats away at us a little bit at a time, day in and day out. We don't know what to do with it entirely. What are you worried about today? There's no question that the events of Friday caused us to worry more. Some of you went home and hugged your children. You hugged them often, but you made an intentional effort to do that Friday afternoon. We worry. We understand we're not as safe as we really think we are. That there is evil in our world and it strikes in unexpected places and in unexpected times. We come here. We call it the third Sunday of Advent. We light a candle of joy. How ironic. Yet it's a reminder that Christ is moving among us, speaking to us in the midst of our worry, encouraging us in all that we face, and reminding us that indeed what the angel said is true. God is with us always. Always. Every place. There is no place God is not. What are you worrying about this year? The book of Zephaniah is not a book that you hear preached about very often. As a matter of fact, in my 20-plus years of preaching, I'm not sure that I've ever preached a sermon on Zephaniah. Now, some of you keep track of what passages I preach on, and you write them in your Bible, and you tell me, you preached that last year at this time. So maybe if I preached on Zephaniah, tell me, that will help me to know. But I don't think I've ever preached a sermon on Zephaniah. You may have never heard a sermon on Zephaniah. You may not have known that Zephaniah was in the book. Well, today is the day. Let's look at Zephaniah chapter 3, verses 14 through 20. The very end of the book. I invite you to hear these words. I'll read them from the New Revised Standard Version. Zephaniah writes, "Sing aloud, O daughter Zion. Shout, O Israel. Rejoice and exult with all your heart, O daughter Jerusalem. The Lord has taken away the judgment against you. He has turned away your enemies. The King of Israel, the Lord, is in your midst. You shall fear disaster no more. On that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, do not fear, O Zion. Do not let your hands grow weak. The Lord your God is in your midst, a warrior who gives victory. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will renew you in his love. He will exult over you with loud singing. As on a day of festival, I will remove disaster from you so that you will not bear reproach for it. I will deal with all your oppressors at that time. And I will save the lamb and gather the outcast. And I will change their shame into praise and renown in all the earth. And at that time I will bring you home. At that time when I gather you, for I will make you renowned and praised among all the peoples of the earth, when I restore your fortunes before your eyes, says the Lord." It's helpful to learn a little bit about Zephaniah and his times, to understand these words. They speak to us in a lot of different ways. But to understand Zephaniah is helpful. Maybe what you can do is the short book. Go home and read it. You understand why these words are so very striking in the book of Zephaniah. Because Zephaniah is a prophet of gloom and doom. All the way up to these verses, it is gloom and doom and destruction. He speaks to the people of Israel and Judah. And he says, your days are over. Things are coming to an end. The greater empire, we know it as Babylon, is going to destroy you. It will carry you off into captivity. The way you have known things will no longer be. There will be a new normal, and you will not like it. Things will change. You will not like that. It is ending, Zephaniah says. All that you've known, all that you've experienced, the way that you've done it, is coming to an end. And then suddenly Zephaniah comes to chapter 3, verse 14, and things shift. And you hear a word of hope. And he says these words, rejoice. Rejoice and exult with your heart. And you wonder, what happened? What happened in Zephaniah? What happened in Israel? What happened in Judah to cause this shift? Zephaniah tells us. The shift has happened because the King of Israel, the Lord, is in your midst. The Lord is in your midst. We think about it this way. We hear the angel going to Joseph and telling him it's all right to take Mary as your wife and give him the name Emmanuel, the child that is to be born. The book tells us Emmanuel means God is with us. It's a reminder day in and day out God is with us. And Zephaniah, in the midst of his gloom and doom, says to us, the King is coming and is in your midst. What a word of assurance. What a word of profound, transforming joy we need on a day like today. The King, the Lord, the Son of God, is in our midst. What is this King like? He's the sort of King who comes to us as a child. He's the sort of King who comes to us when we cannot go to him. He's the sort of King who makes his presence known in the ordinary things of life. He's the sort of King who really wants us to rejoice. That's the shift that takes place in Zephaniah. That's why he says, amidst the gloom and the doom, rejoice. Rejoice. Part of our challenge, I think, at this season of the year is to hear these texts and think, how can I be like that? How can I have that kind of joy? And I think the answer is partly this. It is to become like Christ. It is to become like Christ. Now, don't hear me wrong. That doesn't mean that we're going to go home and sell our Toyotas, buy a pair of sandals, be born again in the stable in Bethlehem, heal all sorts of maladies, and then give our life on a criminal's cross. No, if we did that only, it would be physical resemblance. But to become like Christ is to do something more. It is to look as he looked. It is to love as he loved. It is to laugh as he laughed. Look as Jesus looked. We turn to the Beatitudes and we hear what it means to look as Jesus looked. Jesus said, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the pure in heart, blessed are the meek and merciful, blessed are those who mourn. It takes a different way of looking to see that. To become like Christ is to look as Christ looked. It is to love as he loved. Jesus said, love one another as I have loved you. It's a love without condition, without restriction. It's a love for the just and the unjust, for the likable and the unlovable. Love as Christ loved. And it is to laugh as he laughed. It is a joy in living, not happiness. Please understand the difference. They are not the same. It is a joy in living. It is in being alive and sharing the very life of God. It is constantly discovering life as Jesus discovered it, and helping us to experience it in the sailing clouds, in the waving wheat, in the newborn, and in the careworn, even in the garden called Gethsemane. We do long for more, because in part we don't want to worry. Yet there's much in this life that causes us to worry. Keep longing for this, to become like Christ. And in becoming like Christ, looking at life, loving as He did, laughing as He did, we will discover joy that sweeps upon us. Tom Curry tells of a tall, rangy Texan. He was the son of German immigrants, that second wave of people to travel to Texas after the Civil War, people who stayed and who farmed and who built the land. His business was pecans, and he was good at it. And his business was profitable, and he succeeded. But he fell victim to multiple sclerosis. There would be time, weeks, months even, that it seemed that his deterioration had come to an end, that it would appear to come to a standstill, but he never did improve. Things never got better. He never regained the ground that he had lost. And he knew he wasn't getting better. Yet he was a man who brought laughter from children, and who gave moments of grace and joy and peace to friends and family. He was a man of hope, the kind of hope promised in Zephaniah. His hope was not wishful thinking. He entertained no thoughts that he would get better. He entertained no thoughts that suddenly, miraculously, he would be healed and defeat his disease. No, what he was about was not wishful thinking, not wishing for what could never be, or even resigning himself to what he had lost, but hoping for more than he had ever known. Tom Curry says, hope began for him in the wheelchair, not apart from that reality, but embedded in it. That's where it began. Every day it began with the all too vivid reminder that he could not do for himself what he used to be able to do, that he could not stand up, that he could not make things right. In other words, it began daily in defeat. And that is where faith and hope and love always begin, every day. And that is how they become so powerful. And in the midst of our defeat, we finally understand, in ways we've never known before, that we do need God. And we cannot make it without Him. To be a person of faith is, in some sense, to have been defeated. It is to die, to have come to the cross, and to confess that what we have wished for has only imprisoned us more deeply, that hope is exactly what we cannot give ourselves. Yes, it is what we need to have any sort of life at all. And Zephaniah says, behold, the gift of Christmas is not a wish. It is a promise. I will save the lame and gather the outcast and change their shame into praise and renown in all the earth. At that time, I will bring you home. In the movie The Chosen, there's a story from the Talmud about a king who has a son who has gone astray from his father, the king. The king sends word to his son, return to your father. The son replies, I cannot. And then the king sends a messenger to the son. The messenger says, return as far as you can, and I will come to meet you the rest of the way. That's the good news of the gospel. That's the good news of this third Sunday of Advent, this Sunday of joy, that we have come as far as we can, and it's not enough. God has come the rest of the way in the baby, born in a manger in Bethlehem.